Let me tell you a true story. A nice older couple named Rudy and Rennie were living out their remaining years in their home in Nevada because it was close to their daughter. Now they had a will and assumed that if anything happened, that their assets would be protected. But when a health crisis hit, things didn't go exactly how they expected. A stranger came knocking at the door. It was a lady, and she showed them a court order from the local county court that forced them to sell their house and move into an assisted living facility. The daughter was furious and obviously tried to stop it, but she didn't have one specific document, so the court wouldn't even let her in the door. It took 2 years and tons of legal expenses to unwind all this, but it could have been avoided if they only had done one simple thing differently. In this video, I'm going to explain that mistake and why your average will won't protect against this kind of thing. We'll also cover a court trap that regularly costs families thousands of dollars, and of course, the easy steps that you can take to actually protect your family's life savings. And stick around to the end, because someday if you need to access your parents' finances to pay for their care, the bank might totally reject you even if you've done everything right. So we'll learn how to fix that as well. And by the way, if you're new here, I'm Ethan Carbo, and I love helping families learn about caregiving. It's what I'm totally passionate about. I'm so glad that you're here learning with me today. My goal for this channel is to give you good information so that you can make the best decisions for your family. Okay, let's start out with the biggest lie in modern estate planning. Now, there's a common belief out there that a will or a last will and testament will give you access to your parents' finances in the event of a medical emergency if you're using it to help them pay for their care. This just isn't the case. In the eyes of the law, a will is completely useless while your parent is alive. Unfortunately, here's how it plays out for a lot of families every year. Now imagine that your mom or dad has a stroke and they end up needing to go to a memory care facility. Now this will cost tens of thousands of dollars for your family. So what a lot of families will do is they'll get the will, they'll take it to the bank, and they'll ask to withdraw the funds out of your parents' account so that they can pay for it. But because of strict privacy laws, the bank legally can't give you any information about them or give you the funds. Instead, they'll basically do the opposite of what you want them to do. To protect themselves from liability, they'll likely freeze the accounts and totally cut you off from the assets altogether. So now what happens? The accounts are frozen and the bills can't be paid. So the state steps in and they'll assign your parent something called an adult guardian. Now this is where the story of Rudy and Rennie come back. Because when a family doesn't have the legal authority to step in and manage their parents' care, then the state will appoint a for-profit third-party guardian to watch over them. In the case of Rudy and Rennie, the guardian didn't guard well at all. In fact, they used an emergency court petition to basically take over their entire lives. They used that petition to force them to sell their house and move into assisted living. And all while doing this, they were charging super high rates, which of course could now be paid for now that the house had been sold. Now, I'm not saying that that's the norm. In fact, their case is really dramatic, and while it does happen, it doesn't happen super often. But it's good to know what's at stake. Now, that is the worst case scenario, but the best case scenario isn't really great either. Even if the court-appointed guardian doesn't take over, it can still be a total nightmare in the court system. The judge won't just give you guardianship because you're the well-meaning kid. In fact, it's a huge deal to become a guardian to begin with, because basically it strips your parent of the right to vote, the right to marry, or the right to spend their own money. So the court takes this super seriously, and so everything needs to be perfect, and it could take a long time and a lot of money to make sure that that happens. According to a study done by the American Bar Association, in New York, it takes an average of 211 days to get a guardian legally appointed by a court. Now that's 7 months of unpaid medical bills, frozen accounts, and a medical crisis that is compounding. Also, while you're doing this, the court is slowly trudging along, but it's also getting paid out of your parents' account. Every professional in the due process chain needs to get paid. That's the elder lawyer, the court-appointed lawyer, the medical evaluator, and other people that are in that process. Now, none of that is state subsidized at all. It all comes out of your parents' assets. Just the upfront costs of getting guardianship established can routinely cost families over $7,500. There's a publication by a group in Texas, and they were telling a story about a man who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's but hadn't set everything up properly. So the family wanted to get guardianship, And in order to do so, they had to pay all sorts of costs. Now, let me check my notes and I'll read off what they had to pay and for what. They had to pay $350 for court filings, $4,500 for their attorney, $1,800 for their court-appointed attorney, $1,200 for required medical evaluations, $2,000 for a guardianship investigation, and $1,000 for additional administrative costs and miscellaneous costs. In total, the family had to pay $10,850 before they could pay their first medical bill for their father. Okay, now we've established that this is totally awful and something that you want to avoid at all costs. Now, how do you actually protect yourself from this kind of situation? The good news is that the solution is super easy, super cheap, and takes about 5 minutes to get set up. All you need is a comprehensively drafted, durable power of attorney. Basically, this makes you a legal clone of your parent. So by signing this, they're saying that if their brain or body stops working, that you as the son or daughter have all of the rights that they do to pay bills, to access their account, to sign their name, whatever you might end up needing to be, you have the legal authority to do that. That's why this is so different from a will. Remember earlier we were saying that a will is completely useless while your parent is alive. That's because while it's important, it's a death document. A durable power of attorney is a living document, meaning that it was specifically designed to be useful for you while your parent is alive but unable to speak for themselves. If Rudy and Rennie had set this document up before their crisis, everything would have been different. The daughter would have been given the guardianship. They would have avoided everything that happened to them. The durable power of attorney bypasses the long, expensive, and risky court proceedings, and it gives you permission to access and manage your parents' assets. But here's that big twist I told you about earlier. Now, you might be thinking right now, great, my parents signed a durable power of attorney 15 years ago, so we should be good, right? Well, unfortunately, this thinking might be dangerous. Now, banks are heavily regulated and hate risk. So if you come in with a 15-year-old power of attorney document, they might reject it, calling it stale. In the mind of the legal department at the bank, they might be thinking that your parent in the last 15 years could have revoked it or drafted a new one or changed their mind or anything. So rather than risk a lawsuit, they will just outright reject it until they get something more current or a court order. So that's why, in general, it's a good rule of thumb to have your durable power of attorney updated every 3 to 5 years. But I've also read that some banks are so turned off by risk that they don't want any part of it. In fact, they will just outright reject documents that are even 6 months old. So what do you do in that kind of situation? To avoid this all completely, all you have to do is one simple task. And it's a task that most families have never even considered or never even heard of, but you're getting to hear it right now. So all you have to do is take your parent while they're healthy down to their bank and ask the bank for their durable power of attorney form. This is the golden thing that you need your parent to sign because it's the bank's. The bank will never reject their own form. And lastly, let's talk about what happens if you're in a crisis right now. If you go to a bank and the teller is telling you that you can't use that durable power of attorney form, then what you should probably do is try to have it escalated to the legal department. And you do this because in most states, the law is totally on your side here. So if they are unreasonably refusing to honor a valid durable power of attorney, then you can sue them for that. So gently reminding the manager of that might just, have them pass it through and give it a second look. Or the legal team will work through it and let you know that it's okay and tell the manager that it's okay, and you should be good to go from there. Navigating all this legal stuff can be so exhausting. It feels like the system is rigged against you, and that can be overwhelming. But I would love it if you had some grace on yourself. I want you to know that just by doing this research and stepping up to take care of your parent, you are doing an amazing thing that is worth honoring and celebrating in all of it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything for you to still be the hero of this story. You're doing a great job. Now, if you found this video useful, I would love it if you could do me one favor. Please think of someone in your life who might also find this information useful and consider sharing this video with them. It really helps out your friend and it really helps out me and this channel. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Other than that, I'm Ethan Carbo. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.